Number 10. Ghana. In Ghana today, some communities still deal with conflict in a way that feels like stepping back in time, by accusing people of witchcraft. Much like the infamous witch trials in 17th century Salem, these accusations are often based on fear, superstition, or even personal rivalries. Just being accused is enough to turn someone's life upside down. And while it might sound like something from a history book, it still happens, far more often than you'd think. Because these accusations are taken seriously by many, Ghana has set up 8 special camps, often called witch camps, where people, mostly women, can go for safety. These camps have existed for generations, some for hundreds of years. But they're not exactly happy places. They're more like a mix between refuge and exile. As of 2014, over 1,100 people were living in these camps, often after escaping dangerous accusations. The stories behind these accusations can be wild. In some areas, rumors about things like penis theft can spark full-blown witch hunts. Those who aren't killed outright may flee to these camps to live out the rest of their lives, often cut off from their families and communities. Number 9. The Gambia. In 2009, under the rule of Gambian President Yahya Jammeh, reports emerged of a government-led witch hunt. Around 1,000 villagers were reportedly taken from their homes and detained in remote facilities. According to Amnesty International, they were forced to drink unidentified herbal concoctions that caused severe illness, and some were coerced into confessing to witchcraft. This mass roundup lasted 5 days and included both young and elderly citizens. While most survived, human rights groups raised serious concerns about the abuse and treatment of those detained. This wasn't the only controversial moment under Jammeh's leadership. Just 2 years earlier, he made headlines by claiming to have discovered a herbal cure for HIV, and he was widely condemned for his stance on LGBTQ+ rights. Number 8. Kenya. Back in May 2008, a horrifying event unfolded in the Kizii region of western Kenya. A mob accused 11 elderly people, 8 women and 3 men, all between the ages of 80 and 96, of practicing witchcraft. They were dragged from their homes and tragically killed, their houses burned down along with everything inside. The incident reportedly started when someone found a school notebook. Inside, notes from what was believed to be a witches' meeting, complete with a list of people supposedly marked to be cursed. The families of the victims fled into hiding. Sadly, this wasn't a one-time tragedy. Witchcraft accusations have long fueled violence in the region, and these attacks tend to flare up suddenly, without warning, driven by fear, superstition, or even personal vendettas. Number 7. India might not be the first place that comes to mind when you think of witch hunts, but the truth is much darker than most realize. Between 2001 and 2006, in the northeastern state of Assam, around 300 people were killed. Most of them were women. The reason? Accusations of witchcraft. And the aftermath was devastating. Many of these women had children, now orphaned and homeless. In fact, the rise in street children is often a direct consequence of these so-called modern-day witch hunts. And in India, the problem seems especially severe. But it wasn't just limited to Assam. These kinds of killings have happened in different regions across the country, often claiming between 5 and 35 lives each time. A 2010 report estimated that, on average, 150 to 200 women were killed each year in India between 1995 and 2009. That adds up to more than 2,500 women. Number 6. In Nepal, belief in witchcraft runs deep. So deep, in fact, that witch hunts still happen more often than they should. The usual targets? Low-caste women. They're dragged from their homes, beaten, tortured, and humiliated, often in public. And yes, sometimes they're even killed. In many cases, the victim's entire family is accused too, facing the same violence and shame. One of the most disturbing incidents happened in 2010. A woman was captured by a mob of about 35 people. She was beaten and tortured for 2 days, forced to eat human waste, until she finally confessed to being a witch. And tragically, this isn't rare. This kind of abuse happens regularly across Nepal. Now, unlike other places, the victims in Nepal are often released after confessing. Number 5. Saudi Arabia might be one of the wealthiest countries in the world, but when it comes to witchcraft, it's still the Middle Ages. Accusing someone of witchcraft isn't just playground drama here. It's legal. It's taken seriously. And if you're found guilty, the punishment is death. Details don't often leave the country, but a few high-profile cases have made international headlines. In 2009, Human Rights Watch called out the Saudi religious police for carrying out a literal witch hunt, and they meant it. Beheading is the usual sentence. One such case happened as recently as June 19, 2012. Murray bin Ali bin Isa al-Asiri was executed for allegedly practicing sorcery in the southern province of Najran. Number 4. After 31 years under the iron grip of Suharto, Indonesia finally saw his resignation in 1998. On paper, it looked like a step forward, but what came next was chaos. Suharto's exit triggered nationwide unrest, an economic meltdown, and, unexpectedly, a wave of witch hunts that left nearly 400 people dead. Across the islands, accusations of sorcery spiraled into brutal mob violence. In some cases, the term witch hunt may have been used to mask ordinary murder, but in others, the terror was real. In one especially horrific case from 2000, a 70-year-old woman in West Java was accused of casting spells that supposedly made her neighbors sick. A mob dragged her from her home. She was decapitated, her eyes gouged out, her limbs torn off, and thrown into the street like garbage. Number 3. Papua New Guinea has a legal distinction between two types of magic. White magic, used for healing and blessings, is perfectly legal. But black magic? That's where things get dark. Back in the 1970s, the country passed the Sorcery Act, making black magic a crime punishable by 2 years in prison. On the surface, it seemed like an effort to protect the public. But in practice, it unleashed a wave of fear and vigilante justice. Accusations turned deadly. In 2013, 4 women were tortured, and 1 was beheaded. Not because they were casting spells, but because they live in a wooden house and were slightly better off than their neighbors. That was all it took. Across the country, similar attacks, mostly against young women, became disturbingly common. Torture, beatings, murders, all justified in the name of rooting out sorcery. Thankfully, that same year, the government repealed the Sorcery Act. Killing someone for witchcraft is now legally recognized for what it truly is, murder. Number 2. In January 2014, the city of Bia in southern Cameroon witnessed a full-blown witch panic. But instead of claiming lives, the fury of the mob was aimed at homes, cars, and shops. Locals believed that a secret cult was behind a string of mysterious deaths, and they pointed fingers at several residents they claimed were witches. The result? 16 homes destroyed, 10 shops leveled, burned-out cars left smoldering in the streets. It looked like a war zone. That wasn't the first time the country faced a witchcraft scare. Back in the 1970s, a wave of panic over child witches swept through parts of Cameroon. Dozens of kids were rounded up, not killed, thankfully, but forced to confess. As part of a so-called cleansing ritual, they were fed huge amounts of meat to trigger vomiting and then sent home. Number 1. Of all the modern witch hunts we talked about, one country stands out as the most brutal, Tanzania. Since the start of the 21st century, it's estimated that more than 20,000 people have been killed after being accused of practicing witchcraft. From January to June 2017 alone, the Legal and Human Rights Center documented 479 deaths due to so-called mob justice. Most of the victims were elderly women. Others were people accused, sometimes without evidence, of being gay. Many of these killings were carried out by mobs. Shockingly, some were even encouraged by local officials. Whether fueled by superstition, prejudice, or political motives, the result is the same. Tanzania has become the deadliest place in the world today to be accused of witchcraft.